Damn, it's been a long day. But man, Terrence Crawford is mad. He's calling people haters again. Derek James, he came out and he was explaining why a Terrence Crawford versus Earl Spence fight wouldn't happen right now. You know, and why I said it was even asinine to think about it. And in an interview, and it's kind of explaining, like, especially with the options that you have. Let's say it was be a Manny Pacquiao or Danny Garcia, which are both big fights. You know, really big fights that you could do clearly in-house. You know, and he was explaining that unless, you know, the Terrence Crawford versus Earl Spence fight becomes a really big fight, reality is probably not going to happen anytime soon. And that's because the fight has to be big enough where both networks, both entities are going to be willing to work together in order to do a fight. And they're not going to do that unless it's a really big fight. You know, you pretty much look at all the fights that networks that really truly like work together. Pretty much all of them have been big fights, and it's been very few fights actually that they've done that. And in this particular situation, Earl Spence is a much bigger star than a Terrence Crawford. You know, you could tell just, I mean, he's had one pay-per-view that's done more pay-per-views than, you know, all of Terrence Crawford's pay-per-views combined and some. You know, so he's clearly on a different level. So, I mean, what exactly... So, right now, with the way that things are, honestly, it would have to be a situation if there were to fight where Terrence Crawford would have to go to a PBC card to fight. You know what I mean? In a situation where Earl Spence basically is in control of everything that's going on, and you're getting your check. And I know other people, some people might say, well, why can't Earl Spence just go fight on, you know, on a top rank card on ESPN? He's, quote, a free agent. He's his own boss. My rebuttal to that would be, why would he do that? Why would he go to Terrence Crawford's network, the network that has Terrence Crawford signed to a long-term deal? Why would he put himself into a situation where he has to fight on a top rank card, where anything could happen in that particular situation, where they're controlling the particular fight, controlling the fight? Why would he do that to himself when he's the bigger star? When I guess you could say, quote, he's the A side in the situation by a long shot. And as far as Terrence Crawford's team's not going to allow Terrence Crawford to go to fight on a PBC card. They're not going to allow him to go over there and fight Earl Spence. It's not going to happen. So reality is, the only way this fight's going to happen in any time soon is if it's a situation where the fight is big enough where both networks are willing to sit down and work together in order to make the fight. You know, they're not going to just do this for any old fight. They're not. And in order for that to happen, Terrence Crawford's going to have to bring himself up another level, put himself into a space where he's getting maybe the same notoriety as Earl Spence, where you have basically now two big stars that then collide together in a big, huge match that they're willing to, you know, be a part of. Even with a Tyson Fury, people might say, oh, well, Tyson Fury wasn't really, you know, a big star like that. Well, Tyson Fury was very well known. That's the number one thing. They had a history when it came to the first fight, you know. And Tyson Fury also brought in the UK market. So, damn, somebody almost just hit me. People are trying to send me to the hospital. Damn. But, you know, he brought in another complete different, you know, another market. Right now, people might like it or not that, you know, Terrence Crawford isn't bringing anything special like that to the table. Yes, he's bringing a belt. You know, he's pound for pound #1 in the world, absolutely. But that name recognition has actually been dwindling. It's been dropping. In his last fight with Mean Machine, he did like 1.2 or 1.3 million views. The highest views on that particular fight were the first bouts. Had the highest views because they went right. I forget what event it was. I don't know if it was like the Heisman or whatever, something like that. It came right after that. So those viewers kind of went there, but then a huge portion of them went away. You know, so basically, when Terrence Crawford fought, he actually had the lower end of the stick when it came to the viewership for that particular night. You literally could sit here all day naming all the fights on PBC, especially on PBC Fox, that did higher viewerships in that particular fight. You could sit all day. So that it shows where he's at. And this is a guy winning this bigger fights who's doing over 2 million views. And we already know what what's up when it comes to his pay-per-view numbers. So him fighting somebody like, let's say, like a Shawn Porter would have been huge. You know, especially with the, you know, with the gallant effort that Shawn Porter had put towards Earl Spence and what he was able to do in that particular fight. That would have been a huge, it would have been a huge thing for him to do. You know, that if it was promoted right, that should have been a good pay-per-view that did a couple of 100,000 pay-per-views. She did a really good gate because Shawn Porter lost nothing from that fight. They had the opportunity to take on a Danny Garcia. They didn't want to pay Danny Garcia the money. If Earl Spence fought Danny Garcia right now, the money that Danny Garcia was asking for in the Terrence Crawford fight, he would get that in the Earl Spence fight. And that would be a big pay-per-view fight, and they would do 350,000 pay-per-views. They would. So if they can do that with, you know, with Shawn Porter and they're able to do it with a Danny Garcia, ESPN should be able to do that with a Terrence Crawford against these same guys. But you got to be willing to invest in, you know, in what's it called, and believe in your guy and invest, you know, in order to bring him to the space that you want him to bring him in. But it seems as if what they want to do is they want to lay back. They want Terrence Crawford to do all, they want Earl Spence to do all the work, you know, grab all the belts, you know, have the big Manny Pacquiao fight, get that belt, and after he's done all that, then they want to come up, and then they want to come up, and then they want what's going to do the fight with Earl Spence then. But in the meantime, just have Terrence Crawford fight lower tier fighters and not put him in any kind of danger whatsoever, and not put him in any kind of position where he might lose his belt or he might look bad. And then the other thing that makes it even worse is the fact that they want a 50-50 cut, and they're not moving off that 50. They're not only would do both networks have to work together, but Terrence Crawford's side is also asking for a 50-50 cut. They're saying we want 50%. How is that plausible in this particular situation?
In half a mile,
So Derek James was basically just speaking the truth of what's going to need to happen in order for this fight, you know, to come to fruition and for us to be able to see this great event. And, you know, the calling people haters and just closing your eyes to the reality of what's necessary and just continuing to fight lower tier fighters over and over again, and your star power continuing to diminish further and further and further, isn't going to help make that fight happen. But we'll see who Earl Spence fights next. We'll see who Terrence Crawford fight next. And we'll see how those bouts do and how they perform. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.